People maybe sometimes say, it has to work in 3 seconds. That's not information design. If it has to work in 3 seconds, then stick to the pie chart, stick to the line graph, stick to the things that people know.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning into Notes of Design. To help support our mission spread knowledge, we have two wonderful guests today. Let's welcome Nicole and Darjan from Superdot Studio. Nicole is a Swiss information designer and co-founder of data experience agency Superdot, founded in 2011. Alongside her team, she had developed over 100 visual tools and design systems for large companies, NGOs, and government organizations. Beside her agency work, Nicole also teaches visualization and design at several design universities. She also had won many accolades for her work in visualization and design. Darjan is an information designer and he is a co-founder of Superdot with Nicole while working as a researcher at University of Applied Sciences in Northwestern Switzerland. In addition, Darjan has also taught at various Swiss universities lecturing on data visualization and information design principles. He is a co-author of Visualizing Complexity, the handbook for modular information design, and initiated the event series on data and design in Vienna, Basel, and Berlin. Both Nicole and Darjan, along with their team at Superdot, make complex issues understandable with innovative and attractive information design and data experience design. In this episode, Darjan and Nicole had shared great insights on Data+Design. We started the episode with defining the intersection between data and design, and then spoke on what exactly is a great data visualization or an information design, and how do you balance the need for accuracy and clarity with the desire for creativity and visual appeal in the data visualization. And then we spoke about how does storytelling play a major role in crafting patterns for data viz. And in the end, we concluded the episode by their opinion on how does information design and data visualization is applied to promote social progress or deal with significant societal issue. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and on every Friday we release new episodes with different creative leaders from around the world to help you better understand different concepts related to design. So don't forget to tune in into Notes of Design every Friday. With that being said, happy designing everyone. Hi everyone, thanks for tuning into Nodes of Design. In this episode, we have two wonderful guests with us. Hi Darjan, hi Nicole, welcome to Nodes of Design. So how was your day so far, folks?
We have spring starting here in Switzerland. Today, unfortunately, it's raining, but actually yesterday it was wonderful, sunny weather. So we are enjoying it.
The thing is in Switzerland, not so many people are working Friday, so it's the best day to work.
That's wonderful. So if you guys could give a brief about yourself to our audience out there.
So I'm Nicole. I'm a graphic designer. I'm a partner at the information design studio in Basel, Switzerland.
I'm Darjan. I studied actually something else than Nicole in the beginning. So I studied actually business informatics. I worked for first IBM and afterwards for Credit Suisse. And I ended up in Basel studying together also the Masters of Visual Communication and Iconic Research here at Applied University, Northwestern Switzerland in Basel. And after that, we founded our agency. That's more than 10 years ago. And here we are. So we're the co-founders. And last year, we published our book called Visualizing Complexity, the Modular Information Design Handbook.
That's wonderful, Darjan. So what was your journey into design and how did you start? And what are your advices to the young designers who want to explore the world of data visualization and information design?
I studied visual communication in Basel, so at the School of Design in Basel. So this is actually graphic design, really like the normal graphic design studies. After that, I worked as a research assistant, and that's actually where I got in contact with data visualizations and where I could build the interest on that and do some experiments with it. So after that, there was this new master program called Visual Communication and Iconic Research. So I found that super interesting, and that's where Darjan and me met.
Okay, as my background is in more in project management and business informatics, my first journey into design was back in IBM when we were developing software, and I had to work with quite big remote team. And I just realized that writing a lot of texts and requirements leads to a lot of misunderstandings. And I was asking myself if there is a way to visualize the requirements and the complexity and the things we ask from others to do. So first touch point to design was that I started sketching actually the project map and the requirements in the software design. And I just realized that we are much more precise in communication when things are visual. So we are visual people. And from that, my kind of starting point into information design means translating data and text. That was kind of the starting point. And that's when we met and studied here in Basel. And there is this deep belief in Swiss graphic design, which is very structured and very, let's say, they're very systematic in the way of making experiments. And through working and through variations, you find a way to solve a problem. And actually, that's the main, let's call it, journey into design as a really problem-solving discipline, a very universal problem-solving discipline. And that's somehow where we believe, and that's what we somehow try to combine design with a lot of different other disciplines, like with pharmacy, with banking, with IT, with policies, and so on. So actually, really the question is always how can you combine design and use design as a tool to solve problems and to do good? My advice to people interested in data visualization and information design would be to really start drawing, start sketching, and explore the possibilities which are given to combine data and combine maybe complex, but doesn't have to even to be complex content, translating that content into something visual and showing it to others, showing it to peers, how they read it, how they understand it, and not using, that's the second advice, don't use templates, don't use for the fast solution. Be brave. That's the third one. Be brave, try out something new, risk something. And that's when the innovation and the kind of new ideas will come from. Nicole, what do you think?
I would also say, don't be afraid to make something wrong. Don't be afraid of numbers. Numbers can be fun. Try to learn from others. Just try, just do. Just like learning by doing, I think is key in this field.
Thank you so much, Darjan and Nicole, for sharing those wonderful insights with us. So how do you define the intersection between data and design? And what was one of the most complex database challenge you had to improve and why?
So I would say, the challenge to work with at the intersection of design and data is like, you have to be like quite interdisciplinary. You have to understand data, but also on the other hand, you have to know like tools and the aesthetics to make something also beautiful. So bringing that together to make it meaningful, a good story, but also like a good experience and like beautiful, like good. Yeah. So this is actually the challenge. And this is, what you have to be able to do. But this is also, it's not easy, but it's also super interesting because you get in contact with so many different topics from companies, from NGOs. In our practice, we have so many different clients, and every time to work with data, it's a new challenge. You have to find a new solution. So that's, I think, the beauty about this job. And maybe Darjan can share some challenge that was hard.
Yeah, I would maybe add to your arguments that I think the very big challenge is to keep the quality. That's actually for us always a very big challenge because there are time restrictions, there are budget restrictions, so there are deadlines. Question of quality is not only on the quality of beauty and the product that you kind of deliver, but the quality starts actually with the material, the content you get. So kind of we suffer very often that the quality of the data that we get is actually lacking. So kind of we need to improve and we need meetings kind of back and forth to improve the data quality or the text quality, or that once we start to read maybe the strategy that we need to visualize, that we actually, once we read it and we start visualizing it, we see patterns which don't make sense. And that's the hard, and that's really the big challenge, to go back to the client and ask them, okay, can you tell me, I didn't understand it. Can you tell me how that works? And maybe even the client doesn't know the answer. And that can be sometimes uncomfortable to face the client with a question they cannot answer. So actually the quality question starts very early with the quality of your data and your text and the numbers and with your analysis. So having a quality at the analysis and bringing that quality, because you will probably lose time, and bringing that quality also into the design and the variations and making something really new on time, in budget. That's definitely one very big challenge in this discipline, because it's not just decorating things. You have to make them really understandable. And that's the challenge.
That's wonderful perspective. So according to you, in your opinion, what makes a great data visualization or information design?
So maybe if I may start with this, answering this question. So I would say that data visualization or kind of very good information design has a certain depth. So it's not something that you perceive kind of that people maybe sometimes say, it has to work in 3 seconds. That's not information design. If it has to work in 3 seconds, then stick to the pie chart, stick to the line graph, stick to the things that people know. If you want to get a higher level of understanding, there is a certain density in good information design. And there are new aspects and there is new depth. And there is something where people need to invest time to understand it and to see new patterns. But I can promise these patterns and the new insights that you get through a good data visualization, they will stick with you for a longer time. You will memorize. So that is for me a very big criteria for good data visualizations and information design. Nicole, what do you think?
Yeah, I think like besides the content and the storytelling, I think you shouldn't use like standard diagrams and charts too much, because, you cannot get the attention of people if you use standards. If every topic just looks the same, like every data from each topic, you use a pie chart and a bar chart, I think no one will look at it. So even though your story would be awesome, it's like wasted energy and wasted work. So I think still that the visual has to be like attractive. So yeah, you're attracted to look at it and then get like a deeper insights and get the story and everything else. But without that, I think, it's not good.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And how do you balance the need for accuracy and clarity with the desire for creativity and visual appeal in the data visualization?
Both have to work. So there is no compromise. So it's the data accuracy. It's our role towards society to show what is there. We shouldn't hide anything. And we should always give the trust to our readers that they will be able to see the patterns, but also to start maybe a provocative conversation. We should be able to handle that. We shouldn't be afraid of that. So I think data, the content there are no compromises. So kind of there, it has to be accurate. But also on the other side, towards even maybe some kind of boring insights and boring content, we should be able to make it beautiful so that people look at it. So also there, no compromises. There, we need to make attractive things. Or do you see it different, Nicole?
I think no, the data has to be correct. The design has to be very accurate and still beautiful. With the data, you always have to be aware, in my opinion, that even when you have a big data set about one topic, it's never the only true. It's like it's only a part of the whole picture, and it's only the data that was collected. So you can never show everything, but you have to declare like how was the data collected, where did you get it from, what is the source? All those things are important because it's never complete.
That's wonderful. So what role does storytelling play in crafting patterns for data visualization?
Storytelling, as Nico said it just before, if you are aware that whenever you have data, you are taking a certain perspective and you are trying to tell your truth. You are trying to work accurately and clear you are simplifying something and you are trying to be accurate and you are trying to, and that's actually the very important thing you are aware that by putting there a title and explaining something to that data, you are already putting a certain angle. So you are doing storytelling. So that's why I would say data storytelling is very important, and it is it's the way to go to make people aware and memorize something, because we always can remember story, and we should be aware of that. And also, as Nicole said it just before, there are a lot of other angles towards that data, so other stories. So you have to decide on what story you are telling with your data.
How, in your opinion, can information design and data visualization is applied to promote social progress or deal with significant social issues?
So I think that data visualization can play a huge role in communicate and understand social issues. Also in the discussion, data visualization play a big role. There are many databases available online, so free to download for everyone. This is called like Open Data, a platform that we are using a lot also with students when we are teaching is the Sustainable Development Goals from the UN. So this is like a big database with like, let's say, up to 200 countries in it over many years, with a lot of topic like from food issues, the cleanness of water, poverty, like many really socially relevant topics. And it's super interesting to work with that with the students, because everyone can find a topic that she or he is interested in. And also through visualization, we get to know the data better. So I think this is really also a really important point. Of course, you can analyze a table and find like the maximum value or the minimum or the average or something. But once you start to visualize, you find these little stories in the data. And that's why visualization is so crucial. Yeah, we should just use also these data sets that are available and freely downloadable. Of course, these are not always easy to have, because they have gaps and everything. And it's also the collection of those is not easy, because you have to align all the numbers between all the countries. But I think you can find a lot of patterns, and then you can discuss these patterns. So you can ask the questions like, why, for example, in Rwanda, you have 50% women in the parliament, whereas in Switzerland it's only 30, or numbers like this. So it's really a good discussion starter.
Yeah, I just wanted to add. So you remember the project that we did, Out of Balance? So that was for me a very interesting case where we had numbers from 70 cities around the globe. We had Manila, we had Delhi, we had New York, we had Switzerland, like Zurich, and we had the income. So we had the numbers from income. And actually this data has been available since 1970. So actually it's public data. We took that data and we tried to find a new diagram type and make it somehow approachable for people to understand. And what we came up with were scissors. So actually we wanted to show the lowest and the highest income of 5 job groups. The one was a worker without education. We had a cook, an auto mechanic, a school teacher, and a financial analyst around the world. All these, always the 5 jobs. And the gap between these income types was enormous. So kind of you could see that in Zurich, that actually everybody is earning a lot, because Switzerland is a rich country, but still the gap between the lowest and the highest is very big. So actually, if you look at it as a triangle, as a scissor, you will see that the scissors are very open. And then if you look, let's say in Cairo, in Egypt, you have also the same 5 job groups. These triangle, the scissors are very low, because everybody's earning actually not that much. And also the minimum to the maximum is very close. So actually, by visualizing this, we started conversation. And that's actually, I think, very important to bring socially relevant topics into a visual language so that people can see and have their own opinion, and they can start discussing. They can even say, I don't agree, or this data is maybe wrong, but let's start a discussion. Because as I said, until 2012, when we did this visualization, this data has been there for 40 years, but nobody started talking about it. And once we visualized it, we had suddenly discussions, critique, also positive feedback, and so on and so on. But kind of what I want to say by that is really important to bring socially important topics into a visual language.
Thank you so much, Nicole and Darjan, for explaining it so beautifully. So what are the emerging data visualization and information design trends are you excited about? And how do you see them evolving in the future?
So what we actually recently started to experiment with was more like a 3D visualization. So starting to work more with Blender and to explore that. So what can we do with a 3D program? And on the other side, what we're kind of excited about at the moment, because possibilities are also growing, is the field of augmented reality. So we could already use these technologies in 2 projects with governmental organization who gave us the freedom to really explore that. So we made like 3D visualization that was used in a video later on. And then we made like, with this visualization, we also used it for online augmented reality where visitors of a conference could explore this visualization more in detail and could really dive into it. And so that was really cool also to see the reactions and get some feedback. So I think this is pretty new and we will work with this further. And but there's also not so many examples of people who worked with this technology in the field of data visualization. So we are pretty excited about this.
I would say trend is you have always two words. One trend, which is, let's say, acceleration. Everything is getting fast. Everything is getting automated. Everything is getting digitalized. You have always the opposite direction. So kind of always to one direction, you have always the interest into the opposite direction. So this kind of anti-trend, which is again a trend, is what I observe, or what I also like, is that somehow to all these virtual things are getting physical again. And working craftsmanship, drawing, working with paper, and actually that is, I would also say, that the success of our book. We brought out this book, it's called Modular Information Design, where we try to break down data visualization into the really raw little elements. And with these elements, you can kind of quite creatively put them together to completely new diagram types. So actually you can play around with data and you can play around with visualization, with information design. And actually we are giving you like a Lego system, like for a child, when your child plays with Lego bricks, we are doing that with data and with text. I would say that is definitely, we were very afraid before we brought out the book that actually people want templates. People want to be fast. People want rules and people want solutions. And actually with our book, we are giving more questions and giving you little pieces to experiment, that we are not giving you any solution. So, and we were actually quite excited when we saw that people are buying it and they're giving us very good feedback, that they say, okay, this kind of book they didn't see so far. And actually this kind of experimentation and playfulness and working with your hands and thinking, okay, what should that story be? What should the angle be? How should I work? And so that actually this is like this anti-trend to the rules and everything is automated, but do your things again for yourself alone and use your own brain and get your own concept. So I would say I'm actually excited about that kind of that anti-direction.
That's wonderful, Darjan. Thank you so much for sharing all these wonderful insights with us, Darjan and Nicole. So now, could you please share with us how does your day look like and any interesting stories?
Our office is at the very end of Switzerland. So it's almost in Germany and it's at the border of Germany and France. We have a view to the harbor of Basel. So we see all the containers moving. We see into the city. So this is also super inspiring for us because we have a lot of light in the office and we see that the world is moving. So that helps us a lot for our creativity. And then as Darjan was saying, I mean, we are programming apps, websites, we do augmented reality, all this very technical stuff. But on the other hand, we start every process with pen and paper. So for us, it's really important, this twist of analog and digital. And also now that many people are working from home, like home office, our team of only 5 people, we love to be in the same space. So it's, more that human thing that you like to be together as a team, you exchange fast and you don't need to have an appointment and technology to work together. And like that, we are working, I think, very efficiently in a good atmosphere. So I think this is like the special thing about us, or what makes us like Superdot style work.
Yeah, and I would add a very important thing, the first coffee in the morning. So actually we arrive here, make a coffee or a tea. Then you kind of calm down, you kind of start your day, you're looking around, then we kind of have our team meeting. That's actually the first point. Others call that stand-up meeting, but kind of we meet, we see what are the updates, we see, are there any priority shifts, kind of what is burning? Do we need to kind of do firefighting for something? So, and then we plan the next kind of 7 hours. So, how do we work? So again, that because there was the first hour of the morning and then you plan the 7 hours. And I would say also very important is that we say that in the morning, we try to focus the kind of intellectually challenging work, the kind of your fresh mind we use not for meetings. So kind of we try to do in the morning, we try to solve the problems. In the afternoon, of course, you have client meetings, you have exchanges, you have emails and all the other stuff that we do with the kind of the last capacity of the brain. But the first capacity we use for kind of to solve fast in a good way, solve the client problems. Currently, we are working on a project. We are working on several projects because projects, even though maybe a project takes in the end 3 weeks, but it is spread over 6 months. So actually, that's why we have a lot of projects ongoing. But one of the projects I've been working on this week, it's called The Journey of Light. It's with the foundation, which is dedicated to the science of the meaning of light, which means what does it mean if the sun gets through the atmosphere, and then what impact does light have on nature, on animals, on us humans, on our eye, on our brain, on our skin? How important is light in the city, light in the building? So actually, this project, which is initiated by this foundation, we are trying to, and that's less data, as I say, it's light, but we are trying to capture all these scientific fields which are dealing with light worldwide. So we are working with a lot of scientists and trying to bring together all their kind of knowledge and giving like a Wikipedia, like a landscape on what science does exist and where are actually the connections between different disciplines who are working with light. So we are developing actually a web platform. It's called, the first part of it's called Journey of Light. So we are actually really telling the story of light and the importance for humanity and why we need light. My most active project for this week.
That's wonderful, Darjan. So let's conclude the show by your favorite book recommendations and also people who inspire you the most.
Let me start. So me personally, I'm totally into the old masters. So actually, I'm reading all the books because I'm discovering that the things that we think are so new and so innovative that they have been there 100 years ago. And I also get caught into other disciplines and other books, and kind of one of the books which I think and I can recommend is wonderful. It's coming actually from mathematics. The book is actually recently brought out. It's from Oliver Byrne. It's called The First 6 Books of the Elements of Euclid. And Euclid was this super ancient mathematician, and the books of him are special because he was translating mathematic formulas from math through graphs. So he was visualizing maths and kind of the rules in mathematics. He was visualizing. So it's a wonderful book. I'm surprised that actually it's like a nerdy thing. Because people don't know it. Everybody should know it. It's super nice. And there are also 2 other old masters. The one is from Richard Saul Wurman. It's called Information Architectures. And the book Information Architecture is really about how do we deal with information and how can we cluster information. It's like a more theoretical approach towards it, but also very interesting. And my third recommendation for today is actually Switzerland, and Swiss graphic design has a very strong and very old tradition. And one of the Swiss old masters is Armin Hoffmann. And there is a book, it's called Graphic Design Manual. So I can recommend, it's really a very good book telling about the principles and really the systematic approach. So actually that design isn't just decoration and not just a nice to have, but kind of doing design is a certain way of thinking and solving problems. So that would be my third book. Would you have any book to add, Nicole?
I think in the field of data with there recently, like so many new books, many of them like super interesting. But from my point of view, I would more like highlight some people because this field has a lot of like really powerful, creative, great women. So I would rather use the chance to highlight them. That would be, for example, the Italian, but in London, Valentino De Filippo. Then also an Italian. So Italians are great in database, apparently. Federica Fragapane. Also from London, Stephanie Posavec. I mean, there's so many, but I just wanted to highlight that there are so many women in this field who are just doing amazing work. If you want to get more familiar with data visualization, you should definitely look into their work and follow their Instagram, Behance, whatever. I think you can learn a lot by just looking at their work. I mean, you don't have to copy it, but you can learn some principles.
Yeah, maybe adding to that kind of, there is also the channel On Data and Design, which has talks with these amazing information designers and even many more. So kind of, if you're looking for inspired people in the field, maybe that's a good starting point because that community is dedicated really to data visualization and information design. So maybe a good starting point.
On the other hand, for inspiration, it's not only books and people. I think you can find inspiration like everywhere. I, for example, like to go just to museums, to look at art, but find inspiration in totally different fields or just walking around with open eyes in your city or just anywhere you go. I think you can find everywhere something.
I would add, Nicole, what I discovered when you were working on the book is that when you were working on diagrams and you were walking in nature, you started seeing diagrams on trees, on leaves, on the floor, in the lake. So kind of Nicole started just seeing diagrams everywhere she walked. So I think that's the nice way to walk with open eyes through the world, and then you see new inspirations.
Thank you so much, Darjan and Nicole, for sharing all these wonderful recommendations with us. We are looking forward to host you again in our upcoming episode. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having us.